Welcome. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
I am an enormous fan, and we're here to talk about Oppenheimer in particular.
Yeah.
This is a national emergency.
Detonator charged.
Because his life is just...
Yeah, it's kind of vast.
We're in a race against the Nazis. And I know what it means if the Nazis have a bomb.
Yeah, here's the way I approach things. When Chris called me up, which was a shock out of the blue, and
You won't be wearing a mask this time.
yeah, finally.
I promise you.
He told me, and like you said, I had a very kind of superficial, really, understanding of his life.
They won't fear it
I knew about the Manhattan Project and the Trinity test.
until they understand it.
Nothing really kind of before or after. I had about 6 months as well, so you just start to dive in.
Were you familiar with J. Robert Oppenheimer before signing on to do this project?
No, I had kind of Wikipedia level knowledge
Connected
of the events, I guess.
And you?
I fancy myself a bit of a student of this period in time. I thought it was great the way that Chris chose expertly to cast this guy. It's literally a generation-defining performance.
And one of the things I know that Chris says is that, like it or not, J. Robert Oppenheimer was the most important person who ever lived.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
It's a good tagline, isn't it? I think, what happened in 45 completely changed history, completely changed the world, and we live in the shadow of what happened in 45 now. And people choose to think about it or not. So I think in those terms, for sure.
Looking back now, do you think that our country's use of the bomb was necessary?
I believe that the view which I learned from many, but above all from General Marshall and from Colonel Stimson, the Secretary of War, the view that they had, that we would have to fight our way to the main islands, and that it would involve a slaughter of Americans and Japanese on a massive scale, was arrived at by them in good faith, with regret, and on the best evidence that they then had. To that alternative, I think the bomb was an enormous relief. The war had started in '39. It had seen the death of tens of millions. It had seen brutality and degradation, which had no place in the middle of the 20th century.
Keen to rewatch it. A rating, I think I'm gonna give it a 8.9 out of 10. But unreal, loved it.
This is my favorite filmmaker. This has been one of my most anticipated films of the last decade. Christopher Nolan has crafted an absurdly heart-pounding, immersive experience. But goddamn, is this the best movie of the year so far?
Okay, so he developed the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
He saw the tests and there's a sequence in the movie that I don't want to say too much about, but Christopher Nolan on an IMAX screen showing you, the tests at Los Alamos when it's the first time that it goes off. It's for all we knew, it could destroy the world. I mean, we were opening a door to something.
Well, yeah.
Right?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now.
The flash was later calculated to be brighter than 1,000 suns. Miles away, a young girl, blind from birth, saw the flash. Men at the site felt the heat of a desert sun. Then came the shockwave. 2 GIs at the command center stood up in their excitement at seeing the boiling cloud and were knocked to the ground.
Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," out by using it. On the other hand, they hoped, or other people hoped, that it would put an end to this war, save countless lives, put an end to a butchery that had been going on for many years and had been marked by atrocities, concentration camps, murderous raids on cities, on Rotterdam and Dresden and Tokyo itself. You ask yourself, would the Japanese government, as then constituted, and with the bitter division between the peace party and the war party, would it have been influenced by an enormous nuclear firecracker detonated at great height, doing little damage? And your answer is as good as mine. I don't know.
Pool on the power of the device. Fermi suggests it may blow up New Mexico. As the waiting goes on, the tension increases.
My hands were on the switch, and then I could hear the timer counting 3, 2, 1. All of a sudden, an incredible flash of light illuminated everything many times brighter than sunlight does in New Mexico at noon on a bright day. Many miles of the desert were completely blinding, and so I actually lost my vision for a few seconds.